இப்போ ஓகேன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். கேளுங்க.
Hello, am I audible? Hello?
கேளுங்க.
Hello?
கேக்குது.
Obviously.
கரெக்டா தான் சார்
enable ஆகுது. Am I audible? Yeah, all right. Yeah, am I audible? Yes, good evening. So we are going to, I'm going to discuss about machine learning using Python. So what we are going to see in this 30 days, this is going to be a 30 days program. Yes, good evening everybody. Yes, Ankit, good evening. Yeah, Nagraj, good evening. Yes, Pooja, good evening. So firstly, I'll be discussing about the basics of Python. So what do you mean by this language? And then I'll be discussing with you about, this is going to be our 30 days learning plan. So firstly, I'll be discussing about the basics of Python programming. So what do you mean by this language? What are all the tools and syntaxes of this programming language? And then I'll be discussing with you about the machine learning concepts. What do you mean by machine learning, and what are all the different types of machine learning? And pandas library, NumPy. What is the use of pandas, NumPy, matplotlib? For doing any kind of data visualization task, we require matplotlib library and Seaborn, sklearn library. So each and every day I'll be discussing with you about different types of libraries and what do you mean by preparation, what are the different types of preparation, pre-processing techniques and normalization techniques. And finally, I'll be discussing with you about different types of algorithms. What do you mean by logistic regression, support vector machine algorithm? So what do you mean by supervised learning, unsupervised learning? I'll be discussing about each and every type of algorithm and I'll be showing you a practical example. So once you attend this masterclass for 30 days, you will become an expert in Python programming and we'll be discussing about the various machine learning concepts. So everything, all these projects, I'll be showing live demo in Jupyter Notebook. Alright. If you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for Machine Learning Masterclass program. Welcome ML. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the masterclass, that is internship program, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. The internship users, they will be receiving a webinar participation certificate as well as an internship certificate. The webinar users, once they attend this masterclass for 25 days and if they pay ₹100, they will be receiving a webinar certificate. Alright. So if you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for Machine Learning Masterclass program. Welcome ML. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the IPYNB files, the PPTs, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. The internship users, they will be receiving a internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. And the webinar users, they will be receiving a webinar. So once they attend this masterclass for 25 days and if they pay ₹100, they will be receiving a webinar certificate. Alright. So what do you mean by machine learning? Anybody can come up with your answer. What do you mean by machine learning? Yes, I'll be starting with the basics of Python. So what do you mean by this language? What is the basic tools and syntaxes required? So I'll be starting with the basics of Python. So I want this to be an interactive session. So you can just participate. So I'm expecting this to be a more interactive session. So basically, what do you mean by machine learning? Artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, all these technologies are growing at a very fast rate. So what do you mean by machine learning? So from the name you can just understand that it is nothing but the ability of the machines to learn by themselves without being explicitly programmed. So just as how human brains think, they think about the past and they predict something which is going to happen in the future. Similarly, we are going to train the machine learning models and they are going to predict what is going to happen in the future. Based on the training given to the machine learning model, it is going to predict what is going to happen in the future. So pictorially from this picture you can just understand what do you mean by machine learning. Say for example, a baby is playing. So this is a human being. So how a human being thinks and is going to make some important predictions. For example, a baby is playing. A person is riding a bike. So all these are he is going to learn from past experiences. Similarly, we are going to train the machine learning models. So based on the training or instructions given to the machine learning models, they are going to predict what is going to happen in the future. This is what is called as machine learning. So machines follow instructions given by human beings. Clear? Say for example, you can take any real world problem. Many lifestyle diseases exist. Say for example, diabetes is a major lifestyle disease. Cancer disease and liver disease. So if you want to predict something, so based on the training given to the model, it is going to predict what is going to happen in the future. And for example, the climatic conditions, rainfall is a complex atmospheric process. So based on the training given to the machine learning model, it is going to predict what is going to happen in the future. They learn from past experience. So how human brains think. They are going to, based on the data. So we are going to collect the data from various sources. We are going to analyze the data and we are going to make some important predictions. Similarly, what do you mean by machine learning? So they are going to take the data, they are going to analyze the data and they are going to make some important predictions. So what do you mean by machine learning? It is an application of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, data science, all these technologies are growing at a very fast rate. What do you mean by artificial intelligence? It is nothing but human-like intelligence displayed by machines, artificial brains. It provides the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience. So based on the training given to the machine learning model, the model learns and it is going to predict what is going to happen in the future. So artificial intelligence, say for example, driverless cars. We are developing many driverless cars, face recognition software. So all these are different applications of artificial intelligence. So machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence. Clear? So what are the important terminologies you should understand? So I was telling you what do you mean by machine learning. So what are the different types of machine learning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning. So basically I am going to discuss with you about the different terminologies. Whenever I am going to discuss with you about machine learning, so you should be knowing what do you mean by a data set. The world is evolving around data. In whichever sector you go, say for example when you go for a banking sector or for example some other sector, financial sector or for example medical, hospitals, management. So whichever sectors you go, the world is evolving around data. Huge volume of data is being generated. So what do you mean by a data set? All these are the important terms you should understand. Whenever I am going to discuss with you about machine learning, so you should understand about all these terminologies. What do you mean by a data set? What do you mean by features? And what do you mean by a model? What do you mean by a data set? A data set is nothing but a collection of data samples. They contain features important to solving the problem. So whatever may be the problem, as I was telling you, right, I was discussing with you about different types of real world problems, various types of real world problems. Say for example, I want to solve many lifestyle diseases exist. So I want to predict what is I want to analyze, I want to make some important predictions. So I want a data set. So a data set is nothing but a collection of data samples. They contain features important to solving the problem. And what do you mean by features? Features are nothing but important pieces of data that help us in understanding a problem. So whatever may be the problem. So how I'm going to understand the problem with the help of various types of features. For example, as I was telling you, right, diabetes is a major lifestyle disease. I want to understand how I'm going to predict this disease, glucose level, insulin level, pressure. So based on all these features, I'm going to solve a problem. And model, what do you mean by a model? It is the internal representation of a phenomenon that a machine learning algorithm has learnt. I am going to discuss with you about different types of machine learning algorithms. So basically I am just giving an introduction to machine learning. So whenever I am going to discuss with you, later I am going to discuss with you about the different topics of machine learning. So basically you should understand all these terminologies. What do you mean by a data set? What do you mean by features? And what do you mean by a model? So basically we have different types of programming languages. So we have a high level programming language and we have low level programming language. So all these are the different types of programming languages. So what do you mean by a programming language? So we are going to instruct the machines, computers, with the help of some language. So they are going to perform some specific task. So basically we have two different types of programming language. One is called as a high level programming language and one more is called as a low level programming language. So Python, C, C++, all this comes under high level programming language, and machine language and assembly language. These two come under low level programming language. So still we have, what do you mean by a high level programming language and what do you mean by a low level programming language? For doing any kind of predictive analytics, Python is the most popularly used language. So for example, I am doing some machine learning task, artificial intelligence task. So Python is the most popularly used programming language. And I can go for Java language, Perl, so C, C++, all these are the different types of programming languages. And what do you mean by, and we have two different types of low level programming language, machine language and assembly language. So based on our requirements, say for example, when I want to develop some websites, so I can go for Java programming language, and Python is the most popularly used programming language for doing any kind of predictive analytics. So all these, so whenever I want the machines, the computers to perform some specific task, I require a programming language. They are nothing but a set of instructions which is given to a computer to perform some specific task. I have two different kinds of programming processes. One is called as an interpreter and one more is called as a compiler. So these two are the different types of programming processes. So as I was telling you, right, so what do you mean by a programming language? A programming language it is nothing but a set of instructions which is given to a computer to perform some specific task. So I have two different types of programming processes. One is called as an interpreter and one more is called as a compiler. So all these are the different units that are present in an interpreter. It contains an input unit or an input module, whatever you call, components or units or modules of an interpreter. It contains an input module and it contains an output unit or an output module, working mechanism. So how does an interpreter works? And speed of an interpreter. So how fast is my interpreter? And memory requirements. So how much memory is required by an interpreter? And errors. How it detects errors and error detection. So what is the input unit? So it is going to take a single line of code or instruction at a time. So it is going to take each and every line of code or instruction at a time. And output, it does not produce any intermediate object code. And working mechanism. So how does an interpreter work? Compilation and execution, they take place simultaneously. So all these are the different units. So how an interpreter, programming process. So whenever I'm going to write any program to do something, so how does this work? So programming process and working mechanism. So compilation and execution, they take place simultaneously in case of an interpreter. And speed of an interpreter is slower when compared to compiler. And memory requirement, it requires less memory as it does not create intermediate object code. And errors, they display error each and every line. It is going to interpret. It is going to be interpreted by the interpreter and it is displayed at the output. And error detection. So error detection is easier in interpreter when compared to compilers. So interpreter and compiler. So as I was telling you, right, whenever I am writing any program, so I need to make sure the program is error free. So all these are the different kinds of programming processes. And what are all the different units that are present in a compiler? So similar to interpreter, all these are the different units or modules or components that are present in a compiler. It contains an input unit or input module. It contains an output unit. Working mechanism. So how does a compiler work? The compilation is done before execution. And speed of a compiler is comparatively faster when compared to interpreter. And memory requirement. It requires more memory due to the creation of object code. And errors. They display all the errors after compilation all at the same time. And error detection is difficult in compiler when compared to interpreters. So all these are the major differences between an interpreter and a compiler. So what are the different units or modules which are present in a compiler? So it contains an input unit or an input module. It contains an output unit. And working mechanism. So how does a compiler work when compared to interpreter? And speed of a compiler is comparatively faster when compared to interpreter. And memory requirement. It requires more memory due to the creation of object code. So all these are the different units that are present in an interpreter and a compiler. So whenever after typing any code, say for example, as I was telling you, right, so what do you mean by predictive analytics, artificial intelligence or machine learning? So after doing any kind of development, I need to make sure that the program is error free. So I need to check for errors in my input code. And what are all the different units that are present in an interpreter? It contains a source code. So whatever is the source code, it is given to the interpreter. It interprets, it converts each and every line of code. It interprets, it checks for errors, and we are going to get the output at the output screen. So all these are the different units that are present in an interpreter. And what do you mean by, and what are the different blocks that are present in a compiler? So it contains a source code module. So whatever is the source code, it is given to the compiler. So we are going to take the entire program, it compiles, it checks for errors. So whenever I have any source code, I need to convert my source code into the corresponding object code, machine readable form. So whatever is my source code, it is given to the compiler. The compiler, it checks the entire program, it checks for errors and it is converted to the object code. And then it is given to the executor module and finally we are getting the final output. Clear? So all these are the different units that are present in an interpreter and a compiler. So whenever we are going to, as I was telling you, right, the world is evolving around. So we have different types of programming languages. We have different types of problems. So how we are going to solve different types of problems? So Python is the most popularly used language for doing any kind of predictive analytics. So we have different types of high-level programming languages. We can go for C language, C++, Java, Perl. So why we are going for Python language? It is faster to learn when compared to other languages. So the syntax is simpler and applications can be developed at a faster rate using this language. And it is available for any platform independent. It can run on Windows, OS, Linux. So it can run on any type of operating system. And they can implement any complex logic with very few lines of code. So whatever may be the logic, as I was telling you, right, whatever may be the predictive analytics. For example, I want to predict climatic conditions, rainfall, or some sort of disease. So many lifestyle diseases are spreading. Or say, for example, I want to predict some of the real world problems. They can implement any complex logic with only very few lines of code. So all these are the major features of this programming language, Python language. Clear? Faster to learn. So why we are choosing this language for predictive analytics? So whatever may be the real world problems. So we can solve any real world problems using this Python programming language. The syntax is simpler. It is similar to English language. So what do you mean by high level programming language? It is similar to English language. And what is the history of this Python language? So he is the person, Guido van Rossum. So he developed this language in 1989 at National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science in Netherlands. He is the person who invented this language at National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science in Netherlands. So why we have to, as I was telling you, right, so I was discussing with you about different types of programming languages, what are the different types of programming processes. So why I have to go for this specific programming language? So what are all the different things I can do with this programming language? So all these are the different applications of this Python programming language. So data processing task. So whenever I have some huge volumes of data in e-commerce industry, online trading, Amazon, Flipkart, all these centers. So all these are growing at a very fast rate. For performing complex data processing tasks, I can go for Python programming language. Signal processing applications. So neurosignal analysis. For all these types of analysis, I can go for Python programming language. Game making software. Maya Python, movie creation tool. Many types of movies, many online movie sites. So movies are popular among kids as well as adults. And musical software, musical industry, this is one more emerging industry. Say for example, if I want to analyze the quality of music, what type of music is being played, or I want to understand the meaning of music, the musical notations. So all these are the different applications of this programming language. And website development framework. For example, Django is a powerful website development framework. So it is developed using this Python programming language. All these are the different applications of this programming language, Python programming language. Clear? So what are the different applications of this programming language, Python programming language? So you can see it is used in a variety of sectors. It is used in data processing task. It is used in signal processing, game making software, Maya Python. So movie creation tool, musical software and website development framework. So all these are the different areas where we can apply this language. Clear? So what do you mean by data processing task, signal processing? For example, if I want to analyze the brain signal, neurosignal analysis. This is one important example of Python programming language. Neural signal. So how we are going to capture the neural signals, how we are going to analyze and how we are going to make some important predictions. This is an application of Python programming language. And game making software, iGame. For example, it is one of the powerful Python modules designed for writing games. Games are popular, so many different types of games are being played by kids. So we have numerous adventurous games, detective games. So we have numerous number of games. So all this is developed using Python programming language. And Maya Python, movie creation tool. So you can see, so it is applied across a variety of fields. All these are the different types of applications that can be developed using this Python programming language. And musical software. For example, if I want to convert the format of music from one form to another, if I want to convert from one type of audio signal to another type, say from MPEG to some other type, MP4 to MP3 format or some other type, so I can go for Python programming. All these are the different applications of this programming language. And musical analysis. So what type of music is being played? I want to analyze the quality of music that is being played, analog signal, analog music or digital music. All these are the different applications of this programming language. And website development framework. So Django, if I want to integrate with the front end, it is a powerful website development framework for rapid development, and it is written in Python programming language. So till this part everything is clear. So I just gave an introduction to Python language. So what do you mean by a programming language? What are all the different types of programming processes? And what are all the different applications that can be developed using this Python programming language? If you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for Machine Learning Masterclass program. Welcome ML. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the Masterclass program, so you'll be getting access to the IPOINB files, the lecture notes, PPTs, how the projects are being developed. You'll be gaining more practical knowledge. The internship users, they will be receiving a webinar certificate as well as a participation internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. And the webinar users, once they attend this masterclass for 25 days and if they pay ₹100, they will be receiving a webinar certificate. Alright, if you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for Machine Learning Internship Program. Welcome ML. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the PPTs, the recorded videos, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. Once you attend this masterclass, the webinar users, once you attend this masterclass for 25 days and if you pay ₹100, you will be receiving a webinar certificate. And the internship users, they will be receiving a participation internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Alright. So I just gave an introduction to this language. So what are all the different applications of this Python programming language? Next I am going to discuss with you about the differences between the two versions of Python. So what is the major difference between Python 2 and Python 3? We have different versions of this programming language. What is the main difference between Python 2 and Python 3? So Python 2 is a legacy. Previously we have used Python 2 for performing different types of applications. Code is not visible. I will just show you. So Python 3, it is the present version. So we are still using Python 2 for doing some data processing task and some other type of applications. It contains some important libraries which Python 3 doesn't have. So still we are using Python 2. Clear? So for doing any kind of, if you want to write any kind of Python coding, so you can just go to Google, just type Anaconda Navigator. It is an open source distribution. It is an open source distribution. So once I give Anaconda download, you can just type Anaconda download, Anaconda distribution. So you can go to Anaconda distribution and you can just download this. There is an option for downloading. You can download this distribution and you can just double click. You just follow the dialog boxes. So you need to provide the path where you have to that is install this Anaconda distribution. And once you have installed, so you have different options in this Anaconda Navigator. You have Jupyter Lab, Data Lore, you have Jupyter Notebook. So all these are the different options that are available in Anaconda Navigator. Once you click the launch button, under Jupyter Notebook you have a launch button. Once you click this launch button, you will be getting a home screen. This is my home screen of Jupyter Notebook. You have various options. So under new, if you want to write any kind of Python coding, so just type new, and there is an option called Python 3 notebook. So a new notebook will be created. This is how my notebook looks like. Clear? So you are clear with the installations. So just Google out. So just type Anaconda Navigator, Anaconda download. You just click the download button. And once you have installed, just follow the instructions. And you can just start typing the code here. So it is just like a command line. Whatever I type inside the code cell, I will be getting the output just below the input. Say for example, I am just typing hello everyone or welcome to machine learning. So I am just typing welcome to machine learning. So it is just like a command line. So whatever you type inside the code cell, you will be getting the output just below the input. Clear with this? And you can use them in the interactive mode or script mode. So whatever you type, say for example, if I am typing welcome to machine learning, so I will be getting the output just below the input. And if I want to multiply two numbers, or if I want to perform some other type of operations, say for example, if I want to multiply two numbers, so whatever I am giving inside the print statement, so I am multiplying two numbers, I am getting the output just below the input. It is just like a command line, interactive mode programming. Whatever I am typing inside the code cell, I will be getting the output just below the input. Clear with this? So what are all the different types of operations? So there are different, you can use Anaconda Navigator, Jupyter Notebook, or you can use Google Colab, Collaboratory. It is available online. You can use Google Colab for doing any kind of Python coding, or you can go for Python Idle. So all these are the different tools used for doing Python coding, different environments. So you can use any of them and you can do your Python coding. So this is how my software logic, it looks like this. So whatever is my code, I am giving them to the interpreter. It interprets each and every line of code. It is going to check it is free of errors, and then I am giving it to the computer hardware. This is how my software logic looks like. Clear? So whatever is the code I was discussing with you, right? So whenever I am developing any kind of applications, whatever may be my real world problems, so whenever I am typing any kind of applications, developing any kind of applications, it is given to the programming process. I can give this to the compiler or I can give this to an interpreter. So what do you mean by an interpreter? It is going to interpret. It is going to check each and every line of code. And then I am going to get the corresponding output. Clear? So all these are the different types of programming processes. So whenever I am typing welcome to Python or whatever may be the information I am giving, so I am going to get the output just below the input. For example, I am assigning some variables. So I am showing some simple examples how to do this Python coding. Say for example, I am just giving a equal to 10. So I am going to print a. So whenever I am typing something a equal to 10, so whenever I am printing a, I will be getting the output just below the input. Clear? For example, whenever I am doing any kind of Python coding, this is my source code. I am doing with .py file. This is my source code. I am storing with .py extension and it is converted to bytecode, .pyc format. Whenever I want to convert the source code into bytecode, so what do you mean by a bytecode? Machine readable form. With the help of compilers, I am going to convert my source code into bytecode, .pyc format. and it is given to the PVM, Python virtual machine. Runtime execution model looks like this. And I am going to get the corresponding output. Clear? So whatever is the source code. So just now I told you right, .ipynb files or .py extension. So from this, for machine readable form, it is converted to .pyc format, bytecode. The source code is converted to bytecode and then it is given to PVM, Python virtual machine, in order to get the final output. Clear with this? So till this part, whatever I am speaking, everything is clear. Say for example, I am giving one more example. Whatever I am typing, it is like an interactive mode programming. Say for example, if I want to multiply two numbers or if I want to add two numbers, so whatever I am giving inside the print statement, so I will be getting the output just below the input. So this is my code cell. Whatever I am typing inside the code cell, so I will be getting the output just below the input. So what do you mean by debugging? So what are the different types of errors that occur while programming? So far I was discussing with you. So what do you mean by a program? What are the different types of programming processes? So what do you mean by an interpreter and compiler? And what are the different applications of this Python programming language? Finally, I am going to discuss with you about debugging process. So what do you mean by debugging? So we have different types of errors. So whenever we do any sort of programming, different types of errors occur while programming. So basically we have three different types of errors. We can get a syntax error, we can get a runtime error, or we can get a semantic error. All these are the different types of errors that occur while debugging. So what do you mean by I need to make sure? So whenever I am developing any sort of code, so I need to make sure that the code is error free. So I have three different types of errors. So I have a syntax error. So what do you mean by a syntax? For example, I have different types of statements. So today I am just discussing with you about the basics of Python. So in my next lectures, tomorrow I will be discussing with you about the different types of statements. What are the different types of statements? So I need to follow some proper syntax. Say for example, what do you mean by these? All these are the different types of errors that occur while programming. So basically we have a syntax error and we have a runtime error and a semantic error. So what do you mean by a syntax error? So I need to check for proper syntax. For example, I am going for some decision making statement. If I am checking for some condition, this is my condition. So colon, I am typing something, print, I am just typing something at the output. So I need to check for proper syntax rules while programming. Similarly, I am going for a loop structure. Say for example, for in. So I am going for a loop structure, so I need to follow some proper syntax rules. So for example, I have to the statement should be terminated with the colon. So I have to follow some proper syntax rules while programming. And what do you mean by a runtime error? So this is checked by the compiler. So what is the work of a compiler? It checks for proper syntax. So whenever I am doing any sort of programming, it checks for proper syntax. And what do you mean by a runtime error? Say for example 78 by 0. So this is syntactically correct. Dividing a number by 0 is syntactically correct. But during runtime I am going to get an exception. It is called as a runtime exception. So divide by 0 exception or runtime exception. And I have one more type of error. It is called as a semantic error. So what do you mean by, say for example, similarly I am having an array size. I am just initializing an array. So I am having a size of 5. And I am trying to store something at the 6th location. So I am going to get a runtime error. So syntactically, when I check for the proper syntax, while compilation, the code will compile properly. But when I am going to execute during runtime, I am going to get some exception. It is called as a runtime error. And third type of error is the semantic error. I need to check for proper semantics. I need to follow some proper lines of code. For example, proper ordering. While using a while loop, first I am just going to initialize I equal to 1. I am going to check for some condition. I is less than 10. I am printing something at the output. I am doing some operation and then I am incrementing I plus plus. If instead of initializing a variable, first I am just checking for a condition. While I is less than 10 and then I am initializing I equal to 1 and I am going to check for some condition, so I am going to get some errors. So syntactically, semantics, I need to follow some proper order. For example, I am saying Sam goes to school. So this is, instead of doing like this, school goes to Sam. If I am going to change the order of the words in my sentence, it does not produce a meaningful sentence. So Sam goes to school. This is a meaningful sentence. Instead of this, I am just typing school goes to Sam. This is not a meaningful sentence. So I need to follow some proper order in order to get the correct meaning of my entire sentence. So this is called as a semantic error. So I need to follow the proper semantics. Clear? What do you mean by a semantic error? I should follow the proper ordering of code. When I am developing some bigger applications, I was telling you, right? So what are the different applications of machine learning and artificial intelligence? So I can all this can be used for solving any kind of real world problems. So data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. So all these technologies are growing at a very, very fast rate. I need to while I am developing some bigger applications, I need to follow the correct ordering of codes. If I am going to change the order of my codes, I am going to get a semantic error. With this, I am just stopping today. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me. If you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for machine learning internship program. Welcome ML. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the IPYNB files, the recorded videos, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. And the webinar users, once they attend this masterclass for 25 days and if they pay ₹100, they will be receiving a webinar certificate. And the internship users, they will be receiving an internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Alright. If you are interested, you can go to pantechelearning and you can register for machine learning internship program. Welcome ML. This is the coupon code. Once you register for the internship, you will be getting access to the IPYNB files, the recorded videos, the lecture notes, how the projects are being developed. You will be gaining more practical knowledge. The webinar users, once they attend this masterclass for 25 days and if they pay ₹100, they will be receiving a webinar certificate. And the internship users, they will be receiving a internship certificate as well as a participation certificate. Debugging is nothing but checking for errors. So if there are any errors when I am developing some bigger applications, if there are any errors, I need to make sure that my code is error free. I need to fix the errors. Gokul. It is called as debugging. So what do you mean by debugging? So as I was telling you, right? So whenever I am developing some bigger applications, if I want to know, if I am getting some errors, if I want to fix the errors, so I have to go for the debugging process. I need to make sure that my program is error free. So while programming, we have different types of errors. So we can get a syntax error, we can get a runtime error or we can get a semantic error. Yes, Ramesh. Any more doubts? You can just practice. If you have more doubts, you can ask me. Downloading. So you can just go to Anaconda Navigator. Just type Anaconda download. And there is an Anaconda distribution. Click the download option, download button. So you can download Anaconda Navigator and you can start using Jupyter Notebook. Any more doubts? Any more doubts? Semantic error. While developing some applications, I need to follow the proper ordering of codes. If I'm going to change the order of my code, so I'm going to get a semantic error. Any more doubts? Machine learning, as I was telling you, right, for doing any kind of in e-commerce sector, if I want to analyze the purchase pattern of customers, I can go for machine learning models. Runtime errors, say for example it is syntactically error correct, but during runtime if I'm going to check get some errors, divide by zero exception, or if I'm trying to access an array element at the wrong index location, so all these are examples of runtime errors. Yes, any more doubts? Yes, I will share the PPTs. Debugging, it is nothing but checking the program for errors, and we are going to fix the errors. Yes, machine learning and deep learning are part of artificial intelligence. Vishnu Kumar, as I told you, right, for example, in case of e-commerce industry, if I want to analyze the purchase pattern of customer, I can develop some machine learning models. Data science is scientific analysis of data and making some important predictions. Intermediate object code. So as I was converting, as I told you, right, I need to convert my source code into object code. So intermediate form, that is called as an intermediate object code. I will share the PPTs. Syntax. So when I am using some sort of statement, say for loop or while loop, so I need to follow some proper syntax. Yes, I will post the attendance link. So semantic errors, I need to follow the proper ordering of code, proper semantics while developing any sort of program. Yes, you have classes on Sundays as well. All right then. Remaining things we will see tomorrow. Same. Jesus, so you can use Jupyter Notebook or you can use Google Colab as well. Bytecode. So whenever we have any source code, we are going to convert it to machine readable form. It is called as bytecode.